Okay, this is part 2 of my video series on Hollow Earth, Mount Meru and the Mercators map. Okay, in the previous video I put forward a conclusion that Mount Meru and the image of the magnetic rock on the Mercators map is one and the same, and when you come to that conclusion, everything begins to make sense, perfect sense. Okay. The Hindu texts pretty much match up really well with what's on the map, and it's become apparent that the information pertaining to the discovery of these continents has been suppressed a long time ago. And anyway, I think at the time when I first made that video, it may not be quite apparent how significant this find is. And anyway, this I came across this website that sums it up really well. It talks about the Mountain of the Gods. Worldwide traditions say that a cosmic mountain once rose to the centre of the sky, joining heaven and earth. The ancients lived in the shadow of a colossal mountain identified as the abode of the gods. The Sumerians, the Babylonians knew it as the Kersag or the Ker, and as early as the 20th century it was depicted on the Victory stele, which is that image above. The cosmic mountain was given different names in different cultures. The Egyptians knew it as the primordial mound, the Israelites as Mount Sinai and Zion, and the Greeks as Olympus and Parnassus. Further afield, the Indians called the divine peaks Mount Meru, Mount Sumeru, Okay, so you've basically got all these different names: the Icelanders, Himmelborg, Aztec Kulakan. Okay. So once you put all this information together and you conclude and you're happy with this statement, then everything fits perfectly into place. Okay. If you do not agree with this statement, then you're going to be lost forever. None of the mythology is going to make any sense whatsoever. As soon as you do, everything fits into place. Okay, so a lot of people may not know their history that well, but okay, for example, Mount Sinai was where Moses was given the 12 commandments. Okay. The primordial mound in Egyptian mythology is where, if I understand right, the souls go to get reincarnated. Okay, and that in itself is almost another video of. There's just so much information. I need to make a whole series of videos. So yeah, once you've come to this conclusion, it opens up so many doors. Okay, so let's have a look at what door has been opened up, and what has been suppressed, and why. Okay. Now, according to the Hindu texts, the people that lived on these continents lived for a very long time. Okay, it's said on one of the continents they lived easily to 100 years, another continent they lived to 500, and another one up to 1,000 years. Okay. Now, also in the text it refers to one of the continents as being the island of apples. Now, what does that mean? Now, I almost missed it, but I was reading a book called, I came across this book after I made my first video and I was just blown away. Paradise Found. I'll put the link in my description. The Cradle of the Human Race at the North Pole It was written in late 1800s, and it's history repeating itself. Everything in this book pretty much sums up what was in my first video. I just could not believe it. I was just blown away. Now, anyway, in this book, I came across some references about Avalon, and I associated King Arthur with Avalon. I watched movies quite numerous times, and I was quite intrigued by this statement. I thought, what has Avalon got to do with Mount Meru? Anyway, I looked into it a little bit further. Now, Avalon, if you look at I looked it up on Wikipedia. Avalon is the island, the Isle of Apples. Okay, I thought, what is this got to do with apples? What is all this all about? Now, in Greek mythology, there's references to golden apples and immortality. I thought, okay, here we go. Might be onto something here. So, anyway, I referred back to my Hindu text that I've been referred to, because there's just so much information in the Hindu text. And let's have a quick look at that. Okay, so I've just tried to. Unfortunately, a lot of the information is just spread all over the place, so I've just tried to I've copied and pasted it into a Word document so I can just sort of easily refer to it. And I've put some of the links above. In this one, it talks about. It gives a really brief description of some of the continents. It talks about this bit here where I've highlighted. In the south is a rose apple island called Jambu Dvipa, with a wish-granting tree as its treasure. This is where we live. Adjacent to it are the Isle of yak-tailed fans with pygmy cannibals. Okay, I almost missed that too. Okay, if we refer back to the Mercators map, you've got down here pygmies. Okay, so pygmies on one of the continents. It is described, the Rose Apple Island in the south is shaped like an equilateral triangle. La la la. Outside of this is the seventh continent, the Great Rose Apple Island. It is ring shaped. It is divided into 12 parts, with each part touching the next part, not separated by oceans. Okay, so just keep in mind that this text has been written, who knows, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 years ago. Okay, so some of the descriptions might be a little bit out, but the gist of it's there. Okay, so let's have another look at another map I found. Let's see, no, I think it's this one. Yep. Okay, so this is another map of the North Pole. You've got the 4 continents, okay, and you've got this really interesting ring of mountains around it. Okay, so from what I can make out, the apple trees are on this ring, on one of the continents, and it's on Mount Meru. Okay, so what has all this got to do with King Arthur and Avalon? Okay, so I started digging, and I came across the following. Actually, before I get to that, here's a bit of a description of the apple island in the Hindu text. The apples of that tree are as large as elephants. When they are rotten, they fall upon the crest of the mountain, and from their expressed juice is formed the Jambu River, the waters of which are drunk by the inhabitants, and in consequence of drinking of that stream, they pass their days in content and health, being subject neither to perspiration, to foul odours, to decrepitude nor organic decay. Okay, so what's that? But that's basically saying we don't get old. Okay. Continues on to say the inhabitants of these islands lead a happy life and have no fear of premature death. They also do not experience fatigue or the infirmities of old age, grey hair, wrinkles, or disability. Their bodies never lose their lustre and their perspiration do not smell unpleasantly. Okay, so basically it sounds like we've got the fountain of youth going on here. Anyway, so let's compare this to the island of Avalon. In Britain, apples are most identified with the island of Avalon, blah 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 blah. It's just a whole lot of waffle. Gregory of Monmouth called it in Latin Avalonus. Called it in Insular Prom the Isle of Apples. Okay, so Island of Apples. And I thought, is it possible that Avalon, the Isle of Apples, is the same island of apples in the Hindu text? Well, I say it is. Okay. And if you go on to read the text a bit more, the Island of Apples, which is called the Fortunate Island, pay attention to that, Fortunate Island, I'm going to come back to that in a minute, has its name because it produces all things for itself, there is no work for the farmers, blah blah blah, and in that place one lives for 100 years or more. Okay, so what's happened is King Arthur's been in a battle, he's been wounded, and they take him to Avalon to heal. Okay, so whether it's the rivers or the apples, I don't really care. It's obvious to me that there's been a cover up. They're taking, kings and whatever to these continents to either live out to 100 years, to 1,000 years, who knows what's going on. And that's pretty much the reason for the cover up. Okay, and there's just so many clues here. So let's have a look at Fortunate Island, right? The Island of Apple, which is called the Fortunate Island. Now, I almost missed that, but that is so close to the description of the missing book that I referred to in video 1. Let's go and have a look at that. Let's see if I've got the link up. I haven't got the link up. Anyway, the missing book. There's a link in my first video, and it's called Fortunate Discovery. Okay, so my bet is there was a monk that charted this area of the Arctic, and he put it in a book called Fortunate Discovery. Okay, and I reckon that's why it's called the Fortunate Island. It's just all the information's there. It's just so plainly obvious. You look at some of the history of King Arthur. He was conquered Iceland, and rumour is that he went up to Greenland and presumably just kept going. So so that's pretty much the reason why it's been suppressed, and I'd say it'd continue to be suppressed for quite some time.